My friend's vegan wife swapped my milk with almond milk, went through my luggage to check for meat, and mocked me for not noticing what she had done. Now, I'm done with that nonsense. I know I'm partly at fault for the end of the friendship, and I'm willing to accept my responsibility. Sorry, this is long. In November of last year, I, a female, went to visit a friend, let's call him Kevin, and stayed at his and his wife's house. Early last year, Kevin and his wife, let's call her Karen, moved a couple of states away. For context, we're all over the age of 35, and Kevin and I were part of a friend group from an old job. Another couple from the friend group also went on the trip, but they were visiting family and stayed with them. Before the move, our friend group didn't have much interaction with Karen, as she rarely joined us, even though she was always invited. They also never hosted us at their old house. Karen and Kevin are vegan, but I am not. Kevin isn't fully vegan either. He eats fish. However, his wife does all the grocery shopping, so everything except fish is vegan. Kevin buys his own fish and has a mini kitchen to prep his meals away from hers. To give you more context, Karen isn't vegan for health reasons. She constantly talks about their veganism, no matter how irrelevant it is to the conversation. She makes fun of people who eat meat or use products made from animal byproducts, accusing them of murder, etc. But she doesn't bother Kevin about it. She calls any non-vegan food trash or garbage. For example, when we hung out before they moved and she happened to be there, she would ask how people could eat such garbage when we ate meat. It was annoying, but I never argued about it. The day before I visited, Karen sent me a short list of rules about food. One rule was that I couldn't store non-vegan food in their kitchen. I asked if I could bring milk, and she agreed, but it had to be kept in the fridge where Kevin keeps his fish. All the food I ate at their house tasted off. Even the breakfast waffles and the tuna casserole Kevin made for the two of us on Saturday afternoon. It didn't taste spoiled, just weird and a little gross. I'd never eaten vegan food before, so I assumed it was just a difference in ingredients. I couldn't eat more than a few bites. Luckily, I had packed some protein snacks, non-vegan, that I kept in my room, zipped in a canvas bag at the bottom of my suitcase. I wasn't specifically told I couldn't bring snacks into my room. I kept my trash and disposed of it after leaving. I also ate some street food at the market that Kevin, our friends, and I visited on Saturday afternoon, and ate a lot at the restaurant we went to on Saturday night. No shame. My husband and I were supposed to visit them again this weekend, but Karen called me a couple of hours ago. She said I wouldn't be allowed to bring milk this time. She also said my husband and I couldn't bring snacks, and that I should have asked for permission last time. Apparently, she had gone through my suitcase when Kevin, our friends, and I were out at the market and found my snacks. On top of that, she told me she swapped my milk with almond milk and found it funny. I had some milk on Friday night before bed and another glass on Saturday morning. Then, Kevin told me he used it to make waffles and wanted to save the rest for the casserole at lunch. What actually happened was, after I poured my glass on Saturday morning, Karen dumped the rest out and replaced it with almond milk. Kevin knew, but didn't tell me. I didn't check because he said he wanted to save it. The waffles and casserole were made with almond milk. I was so mad I knew I couldn't say anything nice. So I told her I had another call coming in and hung up. After I calmed down, I called back to ask why she went through my suitcase and dumped my milk. She said it was her house, and she had the right to go through my things. She dumped the milk because she believed nobody could tell the difference between cow's milk and almond milk, and I wouldn't have known if she hadn't told me. I called her a controlling, self-centered freak, told her Kevin hides real cheese in the fish fridge and sneaks it into his food, and hung up on her. Then I called Kevin. He sided with her, saying I crossed the line by asking to bring milk and that it was rude to order meat at dinner. We argued, and I told him it seemed like our lives were going in different directions, and we didn't need to be friends anymore. I probably should have asked if it was okay to have non-vegan snacks in my room, or I could have kept them in my car. I also shouldn't have called her names. I was a guest in their house, and Kevin has partially convinced me that I should have respected Karen's veganism and not brought non-vegan food at all. My husband thinks they were completely wrong and that, since their lifestyle isn't one most people follow, they should have made exceptions, especially since Kevin gets a fish exception. He's also furious that Karen went through my things and pointed out that if I were allergic to almonds, I could have gotten very sick. He thinks I'm better off without them and says ending the friendship was reasonable. He and Kevin got along, but weren't particularly close, just like Karen and me. A few minutes ago, I called Kevin to end the friendship officially. I received a message that said, "Hey, can we talk?" Honestly, I'm unsure if I will respond. I feel like I'm just done with it. Edit. Apologies for not responding to all of your comments, but please know that I am reading them. I'll be calling Kevin on my lunch break today, and will post an update afterward, as many of you have requested one. One commenter suggested, "I would have told her you could tell because you thought her cooking was rancid, but you were too polite to say anything, so you ate everything in sight when you left her house. If she ever thinks about snooping through your stuff again, leave something worth finding, like a Ziploc bag of human waste. Don't worry, it was donated voluntarily, so it's technically vegan, but not really because you totally ate meat in there too. Also, I'd be crapping in her toilet and not flushing, in case she wants to inspect that too." Update 1 day later. This is a long update, but it's the last one. First, thank you to everyone who responded. Your comments were incredibly helpful, and some of them made me laugh uncontrollably. Second, I want to clarify that the bag Karen found in my suitcase contained emergency cash, a credit card, and snacks. It was hidden in my suitcase for safekeeping, not to hide food. I wasn't sneaking it in. The snacks were there just in case I had trouble with their food. Naughty me, I guess. I responded to Kevin yesterday and told him I needed some time to think. I said I'd get back to him today. I took some of your advice and reached out to our friend group last night. After chatting with them in our group chat and having a private conversation with the friends who were there that weekend, I learned some things. Long story short, I'm the only one who stayed close to Kevin from our core group of 6. The other 2 friends only accepted Kevin's invitation because I was going, and visiting family was an added bonus. After reflecting on everything last night and sleeping on it, I realized that you were all right about Kevin being complicit in the milk switch. I hadn't noticed the details as much because I was so focused on the fact that Karen switched the milk. I also realized Kevin never really responded when I told him Karen confessed to going through my stuff. When I called him yesterday, he changed the subject, instead talking about how rude it was to order non-vegan food. I called Kevin on my lunch break today and went through the list of issues. Karen going through my suitcase, him not telling me about the milk switch, Karen switching the milk after telling me I could bring it, and how would I eat is none of their business as long as I don't contaminate their food. Basically, he said the only thing he would apologize for was saying it was rude to order non-vegan food at the restaurant. He claimed that since they had plenty of food in the house for me, he didn't owe me an apology for anything else. Apparently, Karen had told him not to tell me about the milk switch because she was trying to prove that I couldn't tell the difference between vegan and non-vegan food. She essentially said the same thing to me yesterday. I told him that since I didn't eat much except a few bites, it was clear I could tell the difference. He also said he was eventually going to tell me about it, but forgot. I said she could have just said no when I asked to bring milk, instead of being so underhanded about it. He told me that although he didn't agree with Karen going through my things, I wasn't owed an apology because I broke the rules by sneaking meat into their house. There was a meat stick in that canvas bag, but I explained that I was only told I couldn't bring non-vegan food into the kitchens, and that the meat stick was a leftover from my drive. I didn't switch it with their food like someone else did, so I didn't do anything wrong. The last thing he told me was that I wasn't getting an apology because after I told Karen about his cheese stash yesterday, she unplugged his fish fridge. He didn't get home until late, and according to his Google search, all the refrigerated fish had to be thrown out. Apparently, this was my fault, and he said we were even now. He didn't tell me about the milk switch, and I snitched about his cheese. I tried explaining that they weren't the same thing, and that I wasn't responsible for what Karen did, but he didn't care. He said he knew I wasn't allergic to nuts. I don't remember ever discussing that with him, but whatever. I asked him if he truly believed I didn't deserve any apologies from either of them, and he said yes. I told him that if he couldn't see what they did wrong and apologize, I couldn't help him. He hung up on me. Yesterday, I thought I owed him an apology because I was wrong. I thought that if I gave him one, we could keep our friendship intact. But today, I realized the issue was that I was holding on to something that no longer existed. You all gave me the reality check I needed, and I had ignored a lot of things. So thank you for the metaphorical smack to the back of the head. Everyone should have people like you in their lives.